Venezuela has formally notified the Organization of American States, OAS, of its intention to leave the regional body amid sometimes violent protests at home, and international calls for its embattled government to hold delayed elections and release prisoners. Venezuelan interim ambassador Carmen Velázquez submitted a letter announcing the move in Washington to OAS Secretary General Luis Almagro, a fierce critic of socialist President Nicolas Maduro. The notice begins a 2-year exit process. This is a historic moment that marks a new independence for Venezuela and the region, said Ms. Velázquez, adding that Venezuela would be the first country to leave the Washington-based bloc this way. We are not going to be participating in any OAS activities. The decision to leave the OAS comes amid almost daily clashes between security forces and anti-government protesters that have left at least 28 people dead and hundreds injured. On Friday, hundreds marched to a military prison outside Caracas to demand the release of opposition leader Leopoldo López and other jailed activists they consider political prisoners. The march was part of an intensifying campaign by the opposition to force Mr. Maduro from office. More than 1,300 people have been arrested in almost 4 weeks of street clashes. Marchers wound through side streets on the way to the prison, shouting Maduro out and waving Venezuelan flags. Light armored vehicles and National Guardsmen blocked access to the Ramo Verde military prison where Mr. López is serving a nearly 4-year sentence, inciting violence during a previous round of anti-government unrest in 2014. With access blocked, the march ended 2.5 miles from the prison. Protesters also marched to prisons in other cities where they say 178 people are being held on political charges. Many foreign governments and human rights groups have condemned Mr. López's conviction as politically motivated. One of the prosecutors in the case, who has since sought asylum in the U.S., even said he was under orders from the government to arrest Mr. López despite a lack of evidence. Mr. López's wife Lilian Tintori was at the front of a group of politicians and opposition activists carrying a large Venezuelan flag making their way to the prison. In a telephone interview with Colombia's Blue Radio, said she had not been allowed to see her husband since April 6. Authorities were punishing them for promoting protests. There was no immediate response from the government. For Maduro, not being on his side is a crime. Thinking differently is a crime, she said. They forgot what democracy is. Venezuela's decision to leave the OAS comes after a contentious meeting at the group's headquarters in which its permanent council voted in favor of holding a special session to evaluate Venezuela's crisis, adding to calls for Mr. Maduro to schedule delayed elections and free detained political activists. Tensions have been steadily rising between Venezuela and a group of OAS members. Includes the United States since Mr. Almagro issued a 75-page report in March accusing Mr. Maduro's government of systematically violating human rights and standards of democracy. Venezuela denies the accusations, accusing the regional body of being a tool of the United States. At a news conference at his country's consulate in New York on Friday, Samuel Moncada, Venezuela's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs for North America, said his country is pulling out of the OAS. The group it is now a forum for coercion, instead of cooperation. We are leaving the OAS. The OAS has become an instrument of aggression against Venezuela, he said. The United States is imposing its power to attack Venezuela. He also accused Mr. Almagro of acting as an agent of terrorism, who was trying to foster a military insurrection in Venezuela. As for whether abandoning the OAS could cost Venezuela international help and isolate it, Mr. Moncada said, "We are not going to lose anything." App.